Good evening, everybody. Give me an audio check here in chat. If you guys can hear me okay, let's go ahead and get this rocking and rolling. We got Julie, Dee, Kim, Chris, Tommy, Hadley in chat. Got Cody as well. Good evening to you all. I'm Ryan, Michigan Storm Chasers here, back again for another briefing of the incoming snow we have. Current radar on your screen at the current moment shows that system starting to progress to the east and to the south. Current time is 7:02 p.m. here on Tuesday night. Let's go ahead and dive into the forecast. Audio check is good in chat, I see, so we are good to rock and roll. Let's flip from live radar over into model data. All right, let's talk what's coming. So 7 p.m. here on the model, according to the short-term HRRR, we are seeing that snow system, as expected, off to our west in Wisconsin, Minnesota. It's going to progress to the east and south here, hour by hour. We're going to start seeing our first snowflakes, perhaps some raindrops there across the western part of Michigan as early as an hour or two here. Here's 8 p.m. Here is 9 p.m. tonight. That snow begins to start. By 10 p.m., a good chunk of southern Michigan is in a precip shield. And by 11 o'clock, this system is in full swing across south and central lower Michigan. By the time we get to midnight into 1 a.m., heavier snow begins to fall. That will continue 2, 3, 4, and 5 a.m. And then we get dry slotted here on the western part of Michigan, but snow continues further north. Towards sunrise, 7, 8 a.m., we're going to be looking at ongoing snow showers up by the Tri-Cities and Mount Pleasant area up toward the Houghton Lake area. Further south, though, it's going to be a mix of rain, snow, perhaps some ice pellets mixing in there, but not expecting too much in the way of mixed precip for the ice side of things. Mostly just rain and snow mixing. 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. Continues. Snow being shown here in the model. It ends the snow roughly right around that 2 to 3 p.m. time frame. And by the time we've reached the mid to late afternoon hours of Wednesday, lake effect snow ramps up for southwest Michigan as well as portions of the UP, leaving us with just lingering snow showers across the state. Now, let's talk our forecast. Nothing has changed with our overall forecast and thinking, but we do have some caveats here we are noticing with the latest trends. We made this forecast early this morning, so there's been about, we're going to say 10 hours or so of data that we have not really accounted for. So what I can tell you right now is the trace to 1 inch zone further south there for Coldwater, Jackson, Adrian, Monroe is now a 1 to 3 zone. We have seen a southern shift in the latest model data that tells us we could see that 1 to 3 range further south all the way into the northern Ohio region, northern Indiana region. So treat the trace to 1 inch in the white area as a 1 to 3 zone. Also, up in the UP, with that south shift, most of the UP accumulation is going to be lake effect in nature. So that 2 to 6 zone up there, you're probably going to be on the lower side of that through the system, but lake effect could make up for that during the Wednesday period. So overall, 2 to 6 is okay for a portion of the UP, but if you're in the western part of the UP, the system's going to basically miss most of you guys. Accumulations on the lower end of that 1 to 3 inches to start, then lake effect could add to that on Wednesday. So 2 to 6, still a good call, but certain areas will be below that. Elsewhere, we do see in the 2 to 6 zone across the big chunk of Michigan, we are seeing potential for higher end amounts with this system. We could see as much as perhaps 6 to 7 inches or so. I said it, but that is a possibility with this system, what we're seeing based on latest trends. So overall, blanketed 2 to 6 is still good. Isolated higher amounts are possible. And then 1 to 3 is a change down there for the Adrian Coldwater area. So not too many changes, but just some slight tweaks as we move into the evening hours. So with this system, why we're seeing that lower total down by the 94 and 96, 69 corridors is because temperatures. We have trended cooler so far today based on the latest model trends, but it's still warm enough that we are still seeing that rain snow mix. So if you're up by I-69 there by Flint to Port Huron, or if you're over on 96 from Lansing to Grand Rapids, you're going to be right around 34 to 35 degrees. Anywhere north of there, you're at or below freezing, so all snow for you guys. That rain snow line is starting to creep further south there. So that's kind of why we're accounting for that change. A little bit colder solution. Yesterday, we're looking at 36, 37 degrees. Now it's 34, 35 degrees for a lot of us. So it's trending cooler, but still not cold enough for an all snow solution. So model data with all the models that we use and put together, the short-term model shows this, a good swath across the lower central peninsula here of 2 to 6 inches. Also take note further south, primarily south 94, 1 to 2, perhaps 3 inches at most. That's your HRRR model. Now, other models here be coming into agreement here. Same exact situation with the HRDPS model. A nice heavier swath there from the Tri-Cities through the Thumb back toward Ludington, Manistee areas. And then down by the 94 corridor, that rain-snow mix gets cut off. Now, there are still some model outliers, so to speak, that are trying to throw a wrench in the forecast, and that is mainly the RDPS, the GEM model here, and also the NAM model. This model says, hey, we're going to get 5 inches all the way down to the Ohio border. Now, we're not going to side with this model, but I do want to show it because this system has a large degree of uncertainty with it, with a lot of moving parts. There probably is going to be some misses with our forecast. Okay, be honest. We're probably going to miss some areas. And this could be an area that we could underpredict or overpredict depending on how everything plays out. We just don't know yet. It's going to come down to surface temperatures at the time the snow arrives. But this model does show that 5-inch swath all the way down past 94 into Monroe, Lenawee, Hillsdale, and Branch counties. The NAM model also showing that, similar to the GEM model, same exact situation, all the way down to the Ohio border. We have 3 to 4 inches being shown in the NAM model. So all that to say, we're siding currently with the short-term HRRR. We do think the rain-snow line is going to be cut off between I-94 and I-96, somewhere between there. Anywhere south of there, 1 to 3 inches. Anything north of there, 2 to 6 with isolated higher amounts, especially in that central part where you're seeing those darker purples and pink colors. That's where you're going to see that isolated 7 or 8 inches. Okay. Outside of the snow, wind picks up. Has been kind of cranking today, but it will pick up again tomorrow morning across the state. We are seeing gusts 30 to 40 miles per hour there. So if you have trash cans or loose objects, keep those secure. It's not going to be a high-end wind day. We're not expecting any, or I'm not going to say that. We're not expecting too many power outages as a result, but still could get gusty throughout Wednesday morning. That'll continue all day Wednesday into Thursday morning, where those winds will start to subside for the most part, but lake effect snow does ramp up, aided by the winds there throughout Thursday, and that's why we see additional accumulation possible on the west side and the UP. Not significant, but enough to give you another 1 to 3 inches of accumulation for portions of the lake effect belts. That is your system. Okay, so overall, timing starts within about an hour or two. It'll continue all night long. It'll end right around noon tomorrow, perhaps early afternoon for the far eastern counties from Sanilac, St. Clair, all the way down through Macomb, Wayne, and Monroe counties. Travel impacts tomorrow. I would expect there to be impacts. So be careful during your commutes. I'm going to say statewide, be careful. But if the warmer solution verifies, if you live along in South 94, your chances of a better commute are much higher than those who are north of I-96, where all snow is expected. It's all going to come down to how much snow is going to stick, because even though we could have 1 to 3 fall, that rain could mix in, and totals may actually not be close to 3 inches in some spots. Overall, prepare for slick travel statewide, but again, better chances, South 94, for better commutes for your Wednesday morning. I've already been alerted from our followers as well as our sources behind the scenes. We have several school closings already coming in across the state. I'm not going to go into detail on exact areas. Of course, you guys have your information from your superintendents where you get it. I would highly suggest keeping tuned into those. But I have seen, several reports of school closings already coming in. So be mindful of that as well. Outside of this midweek system, let's talk very briefly about the long term. Let's talk about the weekend. So here's system tonight off the European model. Again, snow for that central part of Michigan, and then rain mixing in there for southern Michigan. Europeans on track here. And then lake effect snow throughout late Wednesday into Thursday. A little bit of break Thursday night. And then system number 1, we're going to watch after this one, passes off to the south, could clip South Michigan here early Friday. Not a big deal. Our attention's turned to a second clipper here Friday night. Could give the UP and perhaps portions of north and lower an inch or two at most. But then this system incoming right here on Saturday afternoon. Right now, shown to pass off to our south. That could shift, but this system in particular is going to usher in extremely cold temperatures. Let's go ahead and look at the meteorogram here, the 15-day forecast based out of South Central Michigan for Lansing. Let's go ahead and back this up here to 12Z. There we go. There is your temperature forecast for the next 15 days. I want you to focus in on the next 7 days. We're starting right around freezing today and tomorrow, that's expected. Dropping to 26 on Thursday, 20 for a high on Friday, 24 Saturday, and then here's after the Saturday system drops like a rock for a couple days. 12 degrees for a high, 5 degrees for a low. 16 degrees for a high on Monday, 9 degrees for a low. 24 on Tuesday of next week, 8 for a low. And then we rebound into the 30s for midweek next week. So overall, colder solution. Would not be surprised we see wind chills below zero at times for portions of the state. But overall, expect cold temperatures to continue for the next 7 days or so. And then by midweek, we do see a warm up into the 30s. That is all I have to share with you guys for the forecast. So I'm going to turn to the comments here. Let's talk some of your questions. I did see a super chat come in from Red Dozer. I appreciate your support, Red, as always. The flip-flop business is icky. Wish it would just rain or snow, not both. Thank you. Thank you, Red, for that. And unfortunately, the system is going to be a mix for both the rain and snow for folks who live roughly south of the 96-69 corridors in central Michigan. Got Julie with a month number 19 coming back. So somewhere may have a chance at 6 to 7 inches. Yes, I did say that. And that's how forecasting these systems go. And I will stand behind the idea that we could see isolated 6 to 7, perhaps 8 inches. I'll throw the forecast back up here. We did not make a new map because changes were minor in detail, but overall, the changes on this map are as follows. Central and western UP in the 2 to 6, likely going to end up on the lower end of that range, perhaps 1 to 3 for you guys. Eastern UP will likely verify with lake effect snow, so 2 to 6 over there is still okay. Elsewhere, only other changes, isolated higher amounts in 2 to 6. Could see 6 to 8 inches in some spots. If it overachieves, it's possible. Models are hinting at it. And then the other change, down in the Coldwater, Jackson, Adrian, Monroe areas that trace to an inch in that white zone, that is now a 1 to 3 zone. And that is because of a little bit further south shift. But keep in mind as well, with that rain mixing in, we could and likely will see 1 to 3 inches of snow fall. How much of that sticks? It may not all stick. You may wake up and go, oh, we got a dusting. Forecast didn't verify. Well, it kind of did because 3 inches fell, but a lot of it melted. So even though we're upping that, don't get your hopes up and wake up to 3 inches. It could happen, sure. But overall, there's going to be melting going on because temperatures are above freezing. Looking at comments here, feel free to drop some questions in the chat. Yeah, this system has a lot of moving parts to it. There are some, I call them caveats, things that could change the forecast. There are some caveats that could lead to higher totals, but there's also the caveat that could lead to lower totals. Winter forecasting is basically a game of chance for the most part. We're giving you our best guess, 2 to 6. Most of us should fall in that range, but there's potential definitely for higher amounts in localized areas. But also there's potential, especially if you live close to that rain snow line, where you could get less than expected. So it's all going to come down to how it plays out. Even though we're moving into the forecast period here in the next 2 hours, there's still some uncertainty there. Chances the 1 to 3 zone could see 3 to 5. Alec, we'd have to see a much colder solution. It's not impossible, but we'd have to see a much colder solution than what models are showing us right now. Looking at real-time temps as well, things are looking on track, so I'm going to say at that point, unlikely. Ashley, I would expect the worst travel conditions for anywhere in the state, really, to fall Tomorrow morning. Really, the earlier you get out there, the worse it's going to be, more than likely. As the day goes on, it should get better with plows, treating the roads. But your early Tuesday morning commute, whether it's to work or if you still have school, will probably be the worst of it for most of the state. Will there be any winter storm warning upgrades? I'm going to say no. Of course, that's the discretion of NWS, but the criteria for that usually calls for 8 or more inches in a shorter period of time. We're going to get that. The duration of this event is shorter, yes, but we're not seeing confidence or too high of confidence for 8+ inches in spots. So, no, I would say that's unlikely. But of course, if something changes last minute, it's up to NWS to decide. Yeah, I would definitely check out your local news stations in your area or your school district's websites or social media pages for school closing information. We do not provide that here. We can give you a general idea like, hey, this is an event that will likely close schools. Yeah, I already have heard of those happening across the state tonight, should I say. So we don't provide the information directly to you, but other local news stations do, as well as most likely your school's social media sites or websites. I see a lot of people talking about flash freezing and icing, and I will say this. I'll go ahead and flip this back over here to temperatures. So with this system, we're already right around, if not just above freezing. For a flash freeze to occur, temperatures have to drop rapidly, and we have to have wet roadways. So rapidly speaking, temperatures are not going to drop rapidly, but I will be mindful of Wednesday night, tomorrow night. Looking at the model here, we're going to start seeing these temperatures Wednesday morning here across southern Michigan. We're 35, 37 or so, and those do drop. As we get through the day here, they drop very rapidly into the 20s here by Wednesday evening. So I will say tomorrow evening, Wednesday evening, temperatures are going to go in southern Michigan from 35 to 25. That will likely ice up any wet roads. So yes, you should be mindful, especially not really for tomorrow morning, but tomorrow night. That's when we could see icing and freezing of roadways. So be mindful of that if you have plans to travel Wednesday evening. Grand Rapids was added to the winter weather advisory. Current alerts, I do have that map here pulled up. Anywhere in purple, any county in purple you see on this map is under a winter weather advisory. And totals will range, but every single county within this advisory is 2 to 6 inches or so. Some are 3 to 5, some are 3 to 6, some are 2 to 4. It's all going to range between 2 and 6 inches. And that does include now Grand Rapids, just north of Lansing, does include Flint now, over to St. Clair County. So it does include a little bit further south than expected, but with the southward shift, not surprised by that at all. So if you're asking from Grand Rapids, the solution the models are giving us is a more snowy solution, hence why you're now under advisory. So 2 to 6 inches for Grand Rapids is possible, but it's also close to that rain snow cutoff line, so there's a lot of uncertainty. So confidence in the forecast, either way, it's 50-50. Any snow squalls possible tomorrow, Jack? The only lake effect snow that could be heavier in nature will be across that southwest Michigan area from Van Buren, Cass, and Berrien County, though that area. And then up in the UP, we're talking Chippewa, Mackinac County area from Munising over to that region. We're looking at another band up there. Now, snow squalls, not really seeing a squall, but it could be heavier lake effect banding potentially for some areas. It won't amount to much in terms of a new accumulation, but it could be enough to slick roadways up and drop visibilities briefly. The morning commute tomorrow will be worse, Emily. Thursday morning should be better. Of course, with freezing roadways, it could be equal for both days. So I would say take your precautions and be cautious both days. But I do think the commute tomorrow morning will be a little bit worse just because we're just dealing with new, fresh snow here. Not much mention of Presque Isle and Sheboygan counties for the storm. Can we get some information up here? I can give you some information up there. So if you're in the very far northern tip of Lower Michigan up there where you're at, it's looking like a snowy solution for you, but not much snow. We could get a dusting up there, so maybe an inch at most or two. Models have shifted south, so it's kind of went from expecting 2 to 4 down to like 1 to 3. Models are taking a further south dive, so I would expect you to get maybe an inch or two at most. Red again with a super chat says, almost forgot to give a shout out to the mods. Thank you much. So from the Red Dozer over to the mods here in chat on Facebook and YouTube, Red says, thank you. Jessica, I would expect there to be a chance for slick roads anywhere in the state of Michigan tomorrow morning. But being Jackson's on the very far southern edge of that rain-snow line, anywhere, if you live anywhere from Kalamazoo to Jackson to Detroit, even up toward Lansing, you guys are going to be dealing with a rain-snow mix. So it's possible we could see some slick roadways. The rain and the warmer temps should keep the widespread slick conditions to a minimal throughout Tuesday morning. And that's assuming the rain-snow mix is a warmer solution. If it trends more cold, we could see a little bit more in the way of slick spots. So be careful either way until you know what you're dealing with. But better chances for slick conditions lie north of Lansing. I've already seen, I believe, Delight, here in chat, you're asking about snow day predictions. We don't really give predictions. We can give you the idea. And I can tell you that I've already seen several schools in that area already start closing. I do know that there's several in Oakland County that have been closing. I do know I've seen several schools over on the west side already close as well for tomorrow. So I would still expect a lot of neighboring counties to follow suit. So stay tuned in if you are anxiously awaiting school day predictions or decisions. I would just stay tuned in to local news websites, your school social media pages, et cetera, et cetera. I am Ryan. I am not Joel. Joel is actually presenting, almost said presentationing. He's presenting tonight at a library, I believe, over in my neck of the woods. So he is not on tonight, but I got you. I am Ryan here. I am not the chief meteorologist, but I am still a forecaster here on staff, and I am operational president here at MSC. Weekend is still looking cold, Derek. Yes, and by cold, teens for highs and single digits for lows, with wind chills likely at times below zero for portions of the state. It's not major. We've dealt with it before here, so it's not worth getting too worked up over. But yes, it will be a lot colder this weekend. Kat says, I'm looking for 70 degrees. You are about 6 months too soon. I would take 70 degrees as well. I would as well. Will you be live tomorrow, Bree? I will likely say no, unless there is something one of our chasers has that warrants a live stream. Maybe. We'll most likely post updates from our chasers directly to the page and avoid a live stream. Lakeside, that is a possibility. I did have the European model pulled up here for total snowfall. I will talk about this briefly because you asked the question. So this is the first system of snowfall here through the European model. As you can see, another agreement here, widespread, 2 to 6, isolated 6 or 7 inches there. And then what comes after that? Here comes the lake effect in nature for Thursday. We see portions of the UP up there getting an inch or two. We see southern Michigan down here by Barron County getting an inch or two down here. And then attention turns to a system that passes off to our south there for Friday. And then the weekend time frame, Saturday into Sunday, watch what happens here to West Michigan and the UP. We go from 4 to 8 inches, and then in some spots, all of a sudden, now we're talking close to a foot of snow. That is lake effect response off that system moving in Saturday afternoon. So likely, yes, lake effect will kick up for the weekend. It's too early to call exact areas and how much snow will there be. We don't know that. Likely at least a 1 to 5 event for localized areas. I do think that's a pretty safe bet. But yes, I would expect a lake effect response Saturday afternoon into the Monday timeframe. All right, we are going to wrap things up here soon. I'm going to keep looking at chat for a few more minutes. So if you have any final questions, drop them in the chat here. And while you guys do that, I'm going to plug the wish list that we have ongoing here for the Ronald McDonald House of Detroit. We have partnered with them to provide snacks, drinks, and also blankets for the families that pass through the RMHC house in Detroit. So feel free, if you feel compelled, to donate. Similar to what we did for the ice storm victims this past winter, same thing applies here. Wish list, you go, you buy the items, they come to us, we deliver it to RMHC of Detroit. So link I'll drop in the chat here right now if I can find the copy paste. There it is, share. Go ahead and copy that link. I'll go ahead and drop it in all the socials chats right now. It is also pinned to our page on Facebook. You can go ahead and click that post. Link will be at the bottom of the post. That's also another way you can find the RMHC wish list as well. But if you feel compelled, the list is now dropped in chat and is now sent. Do we have any adjustments to the final call forecast map? Dylan, you must have just tuned in. So changes one more time. Go over it one more time. If you live down in that trace to an inch zone from Coldwater to Jackson to Adrian to Monroe in the white color, that is now a 1 to 3 zone. Now, there's a caveat I'm going to talk about, and that is temperatures are going to be above freezing. So while snow will likely fall, a lot of it's going to melt. So even though 1 to 3 is going to fall, it may only accumulate to a dusting or a slushy on grassy surfaces type of situation here. So that's a caveat. Second change, anywhere in the 2 to 6 zone from Flint to Mount Pleasant on toward Gaylord, from about Cadillac, Reed City to West Branch, that zone right there, we could see isolated 7, maybe 8 inches at most in that area, but isolated higher amounts are possible there. And then for the western UP and for central UP, 2 to 6 is likely a little bit too high based on the southern shift we're seeing with the system. So 1 to 3 is a good call up there. Lake effect kicks in Wednesday evening. It could make up for some of those areas, but not all the entire blanket 2 to 6. So that 2 to 6 up in the UP will be more localized and pinpointed to where lake effect kicks up later on Wednesday into Thursday. That is the main 3 changes to the map. Yeah, Hadley, good point here. If you missed any information or you're just tuning in here, feel free to rewind the stream all the way back to the beginning. First 10 or 15 minutes or so, I'd break it down in hour by hour. I'd break it down the forecast, changes, etc., and talk about the weekend system as well. So with that being said, that's all I'm going to stop the stream right there. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in chat. I'll continue to monitor behind the scenes when I'm off air here. But overall, forecast looks to be on track for majority of us. Snow begins here soon. Expected to start ramping up here by around 8 or 9 p.m. For the west side. And then by the east side, we should see that snow begin roughly later between 10 and midnight or so. With that being said, I'm going to roll the outro here. I appreciate you guys tuning in to watch. I do not believe we're going to have a YouTube video tomorrow, but we'll likely do one for Thursday. So I hope to see you guys then on the YouTube side of things for a forecast update video. With that being said, you guys enjoy the new outro video with Christmas music and scenes. Stay safe, guys. Travel safe. We'll have updates on the page. Enjoy your evening.